Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Fekame Youth YouTube channel. Our guest speaker today is Professor Elvan Aktas. Welcome, Dr. Aktas. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, everybody. First, let me apologize to you. It wasn't my idea to have an hour-long program, just 2 hours before iftar, especially for those of you on the East Coast. Greetings from the sunny South Georgia. My name is Elvan Aktas. I'm a finance professor. Mainly, I teach investments and portfolio analysis. So for those of you who share the Americans' love affair with math, I'm actually a mathematician. My job is to measure risk and quantify human behavior. I've been in the United States for 25 years now. I came here as a graduate student, and at the current school that I'm working at, Valdosta State University, I've been here for almost 13 years.
Thank you, Dr. Aktas. Today's topic is trends and careers. The floor is yours.
All right. Again, greetings from the East Coast. I know some of you are connecting from all the way from California, from West Coast. For us, it is just the last 2 hours of fasting. So my mouth is dry and my mind is sugarless. So I don't have, there is much blood sugar left in my system. So if I keep stumbling on my words or my logic doesn't make some sense, blame it on oruç and fasting, not me. So today, I just wanted to basically chat with you about some of the trends in the industry, some of the trends in education and employment. The reason why I chose this topic is because I'm guessing that during Ramadan, maybe even before Ramadan started, a lot of people from Hizmet have prepared many sohbets and programs for you, and you've been bombarded with religious stuff. So we're not gonna talk much about religion today, although I'll try to connect everything to an important factor. It's at least important to me because I'm an educator at the end. But the reason why I chose this topic is because what I do for a living, in addition to teaching investments and portfolio analysis, is, as I said earlier, number one, it is quantifying human behavior. You might think that's some kind of a nerdy, boring subject, but it is fascinating. It is really interesting, and it is related to almost everything in life. And secondly, the ramifications, the implementation of this, the pragmatic approach to quantifying human behavior is, of course, its application in investments and portfolio management. All that boring stuff that you see, stocks, bonds, and retirement and the economy and all of that. But again, I'm going to repeat myself, it is related to everything in life, from religion to anthropology to social changes to politics to consumer behavior, what kind of music you listen to, what kind of video games you play, or which social media sites that you use to share now. For example, I know I'm Facebook generation. Facebook is boring for you young folks, but everything pours into this analysis that we call the top-down approach or top-down analysis. And I think having spent longer than quarter century in my field, I think I have a few interesting things. I hope you'll find it interesting for you to take from this speech. And I'm gonna try to keep it at least manageable for you to follow. Let's first start with why the trends, current trends, are important to shape the careers that might appeal to you. I'm assuming that overwhelming majority of you are high school students close to graduation, or you are in college right now. And I really don't know the demographics of the audience. Right now, I'm in my home office. Of course, the picture behind me is just a background image, AI image, but that's a Florida beach. For those of you in California, yes, we have beautiful beaches here too. I'm looking at the camera, so I really don't have much chance to interact with you other than the question and answer session at the end. But my guess is that 60% of you were born in the United States. So you are you are native-born, natural U.S. citizens. And the other 40% is either fresh immigrants or naturalized U.S. citizens like myself. So you came here later in life and you became part of the society. And to all of you, I have some really good news, because this is a great time to be young in America. This is an amazing time to be a student in America. And of course, in addition to these trends and careers that I'm going to discuss with you, I'd like to also talk to you about some of my experiences over 21 years of experience being in the classroom with young people like yourselves, what works and what doesn't. And I'm going to try to plug in some warnings for you, a list, do's and don'ts for you. And finally, I will end my talk, and I hope I'm not going to sound like your dad or your teacher or your professor from college, about communication skills, because that is going to have multiple facets that will relate to what I'm about to tell you. You, overwhelming majority of you, I'm assuming, are from Turkish background, or you or your parents are from the geographical area that we call Turkey. Some of you might have multicultural parents. Some of you might have grown up in different parts of the world because of your dad or your mom's job. But that doesn't change the fact that we all culturally share something in common, that we come from a background that already missed 3 industrial revolutions. And let me share something with you, and let's talk a little more academic, and then we'll jump into what I want to share with you. There you go. So, industrial revolution, automation, mass production, electronics, computers, IT, and now number 4. And sadly, we are from a part of the world, or at least our parents and our cultural heritage is from a part of the world that unfortunately missed the first 3. And many of the understandings, many of the embedded jokes, songs, lyrics, idioms, sayings, and traditions in the current culture that we live in, that we call the United States, has some reminiscence, has some hints about the experiences that come from the first 3 industrial revolution. On the other hand, where we come from, or at least your parents, probably I'm your parents' age, I'm in my late 40s right now, we don't have that luxury, because in that part of the world, innovation, leadership, or critical thinking, unfortunately, rarely exists, and only at individual levels, not at systematic level. I am going to remind you what I just told you. This is not a criticism or a shot at anybody. I'm not looking down on anybody's culture. I grew up in Turkey. I came to the United States when I was 22 years old, right after I finished college. I came here to get a PhD in finance at University of Florida. Go Gators, hence the orange shirt, if you haven't noticed. But the point here is that I am very well aware of some of the challenges that you will face in your personal life, in your social life, when you are with your Turkish or Muslim friends, or friends from the Hizmet movement, or friends that you met through your parents' relationships or friendships. And of course, the most important one, your communication to your parents about this. So these first 3 industrial revolutions, the first one, of course, end of 18th century, 1784 is a pinpoint prediction for it, but it's of course open for debate whether we can have an exact year for it. But we are literally talking about mechanization, and mechanization in terms of the locomotives, steam-powered boats and locomotives, transportation, some machinery that built into or that was integrated into construction, big construction projects, some machinery that revolutionized agriculture. And then the second industrial revolution is in late 19th century, which is now we introduce electricity and mass production. And of course, the advancement again in communications and transportation. And then the third one, which happened during right before I was born, is 1969. But the real effects of the automation and computers and electronics have seen its results in the late 70s, early 80s. So I could relate to my childhood and how my life was transformed. I know this might be far-fetched for you, but I am from the generation where I remember that majority of the people I knew didn't have phones at home. Forget about internet or cell phones, didn't even have landlines at home. And that's where I'm going to tie this to your communication with your parents in the end. And the current day. As you can see on that picture I shared with you, there is no date at the bottom of this because we are supposed to come out of it to diagnose when it started and when the effects have happened. We don't know that yet. And it is happening right now. And we call this Industrial Revolution number 4 or Industry number 4. And now we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, blockchain, or distributed ledger technology. If you want to look at a little more in detail about Industry 4.0, we are talking about augmented reality. For example, you know, this current crisis, the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic, is going to shake things up. It is going to change a lot of things, the way that we understand the distribution of goods and services and information, the way that we understand about what security means, cybersecurity and its implications. For example, let me just give you an example. Before COVID-19, we were all aware of Amazon effect or Internet of Things. You know, retail sector was suffering because people would keep buying more and more online through e-commerce rather than going to brick and mortar stores. So physical retail space was shrinking and shrinking. Now this COVID-19 pandemic is a shock to the system. Not necessarily we have an environment where the only motivating factor is efficiency, cost reduction, and convenience, but now we have security embedded into the motivation why we are doing more e-commerce. I mean, given the choice nowadays, I bet that overwhelming majority of the population would choose to get things delivered to their home and not risk to go to a store. What is this going to do? Well, this is going to have interesting effects. For example, I know 17 companies right now that we are interested. When I say we, I'm talking about some of the professional institutional portfolios that I give consulting services to. We are looking at 17 different countries for companies, for example. That's the fasting kicking in, sorry. Through augmented reality. Think about having virtual reality goggles or helmet or whatever you call that, put it on your head, and it would reflect a 3D lifelike image of a pair of shoes on your kitchen table. So you can walk around it, you can look at it, you can see from many different angles. That eliminates some of the early concerns and challenges of e-commerce. Remember, when online shopping started, one of the biggest hurdles, one of the biggest challenges was when you order something and it doesn't fit, what do? So stores, the primitive response by the retailers was, of course, to give customers free shipping and free returns. So no questions asked. But that is still time consuming and it's very frustrating for clients. Now, augmented reality is expected to revolutionize the challenges. And imagine the technology behind transporting the feeling of a fabric. And I'm not making this stuff up. Right now, through nanotechnology and some chemical engineering innovation, There are companies that are looking at ways to transport smell. Can you imagine you're going to buy something, not only you're going to have a visual, lifelike 3D image in front of you, but you'll be able to smell it too. And of course, cloud computing, your generation is born into it. I mean, for me, it took us almost 10 years to trust the system. Mobile devices, Internet of Things. You know, like the simplest example is that you're going to have a refrigerator. I mean, we do have refrigerators who will literally order milk from the store, and it will, through its sensors, know that you're running low on milk and you're going to run out tomorrow. So today it's going to order milk for you. And the machines are going to talk to each other. The implications of this, not just in the retail sector, but transportation, for example, self-driving cars or self-driving drones that carry people talking to each other. And all of this is eagerly and hungrily awaiting the 5G technology. Location detection technologies, human-machine interfaces, authentication and fraud detection, cybersecurity again, 3D printing, amazing, revolutionary, groundbreaking technologies coming out of 3D printing. I mean, imagine having a company that develops construction projects, but it has a central office, but all it does is actually send a 3D giant printer that builds the actual building in wherever they can ship the machine. Instead of shipping all the manpower, skill, and all that, all they have to do is just ship the machine and the raw materials. And you are all aware of big data analytics and the multi-level customer interaction and customer profiling. So this Industry 4.0 right now has many satellites, as you can see from this picture, but all of this is what happened. What is about to happen, especially after this pandemic, and the push it will provide, because it will make it a security, survival necessity for so many deliveries of businesses. It will transform the way we communicate, the way we consume, the way we spend, and the way, of course, we travel. Think about all the new technology and its applications. And of course, all of this means something related to my topic. The opportunity, US high opportunity jobs, the top portion of what I'm showing you, this picture, is showing that America is an aging population that will rely more and more to service sector. Let me repeat, America, unless we address the aging population problem through either the correct government incentives, which means giving people the correct economic motivation and incentives to actually have children or to make their lives easier. I mean, I don't want to go into a political discussion here, but if you compare the American government evolution and the current situation to some of our European counterparts in the developed world, from parental leave to some of the subsidies that families get because they have children or multiple children, America is not doing a good job motivating its young people to get married and have children, which combined with our attitude towards immigration is making this an amazing trend, a force to be reckoned with, because we cannot naturally return or turn this trend around and reverse it unless we again motivate young people to have children, or young couples to have children, or we address the immigration issue. It is a fact that America is an aging population. Aging populations need service, whether it's medical service, or it is different pleasures in life, or it is different types of consumption needs of aging populations. They will rely on more and more on the service sector than manufacturing. So as you can see here on top, you're going to see that medical, nursing and care, doctors, EMTs, management in the sense of analytics, researchers, auditors, accounting, again, big data applications, computer programmers and operations. Somebody has to write the code and somebody has to run the system and maintain the system. And then comes the skill specialties and trades. So as you can see, of course, this data and analysis was prepared before the pandemic. Right now, this unemployment trend that we've been experiencing, that 2020, 3.6, by the way, is a number that is, according to some comparisons, it is lower than even World War II era, which saw the highest employment in the history of this country. So, of course, you are all aware that coronavirus pandemic has made tens of millions of Americans unemployed temporarily. We know that there are roughly 40 million Americans who lost their jobs in the last couple of months, but that is not expected to sustain. So we don't expect those people to stay unemployed for a long time, at least depending on the developments of the vaccine that we are hoping that the pharmaceutical companies will come up with. And then, of course, the way the population responds to the measures to stop or slow down the spread of this coronavirus is going to determine how quickly those people are going to go back to their jobs. But regardless, the long-term trend of unemployment in the US is not expected to be a challenge for you, as long as, if and only if, you invest into yourselves. Let me repeat. You are citizens and members of one of the richest, actually the richest country in the world right now, but one of the richest societies in the history of mankind. So regardless of how your parents are trying to push you, I'm going to tell you the exact opposite. Relax. Relax, you're going to be fine. It is a great time to carry a US passport right now. It's a great time to be a young person in America who is looking at different alleys of education, different channels of employment opportunities, or just simply the future. I mean, personally, I don't know how much you'll care for this, but I wish I was in college right now. It is an amazing time. The menu of options that is available to you in front of you is unbelievable. However, that requires you to be aware of these trends. And number 3 on the bottom, before I skip and then get out of the screen sharing so you can see my pretty face, what you're looking at on number 3 is the challenge from automation. The challenge from automation to different sectors is going to be very different, which means that different sectors, people who are employed in different sectors are going to be at a different level of danger of losing their jobs to machines and AI and computers. So you need to be aware of these 3 trends. Number 1, service, data, and information sector is going to grow more and more, including medical, management, computers, AI, and different applications of business. Number 2, unemployment is expected to remain low because of 2 factors. Number 1, we are doing a great job creating new innovations, new ways of employing people and new business opportunities. Number 2, we are aging. Aging populations make young people, educated, skilled young people, more valuable. So make sure that you have that confidence in you when you are looking at different opportunities. And number 3 is, please be aware of different sectors, and that specific sectors that you're interested in will have different sensitivities, different vulnerabilities to automation and the challenges that come from automation. Now, let me stop sharing the screen with you. Now, all of that tells me a few things that I need to share with you that I wouldn't normally share with my American students or my non-Turkish students or students that I would not meet at this platform. And you know what I mean by that. The reason for that is because being an academic in the United States, I'm not just a professor or a consultant to businesses related to investments, but also I'm an educator who advises students. In the last 22 years now, 22 years that I've had the pleasure of spending time in the classroom with my students or advising them in my office, one thing that I would like to convey to you is very important. And I want you to please remember this. Where I come from, where majority of your parents come from, you have to be very, very smart. You have to be very exceptionally gifted almost to excel and to have outstanding success. Let me repeat. For someone from Turkey to be able to go to an amazing college, get a really good education, you have to rank in the top 5,000 in 1.5 million students who take the college entrance exam that year. And I don't want to brag about it, but I'm speaking from experience. I'm the product of that interestingly competitive but very harsh education system. For example, I was ranked number 11 the year that I went into the university, or when I took the university entrance test. But I had to prepare for it for almost 6 years. In this country, you don't have to be exceptionally smart. You don't have to be exceptionally gifted. You have to be exceptionally hardworking and perseverance and your will, stamina. Let me repeat. I have seen over the years in the US, many exceptionally smart students fail because they don't have the stamina. And I have seen many average students who accomplished amazing things because of their strong will, perseverance, and stamina. So what you need to do is, when you put your head down, plow through all the challenges. There will be hiccups. There will be challenges from your personal life, from your friends, from your family, even from your professors. Let me share something that might actually bring a couple of giggles out of you. You will face some mean, unfair, impossible, difficult professors. And they are going to be mean, unfair, impossible, and difficult. And that is going to be part of your education. Because once you end your education and choose a career path and hopefully really get good jobs, or, I don't know, maybe start your own business, if you want to go down that road, you're not going to meet a fair, accommodating, gentle, and merciful environment. Life is going to throw things at you that are going to be unfair, difficult, and mean. So throughout your education, sometimes you're going to face challenges within your family. Your aspirations, your dreams, your dream job, and the different education pathways that lead to your dream career might not, sometimes will not look that attractive to your parents. For example, parents that grew up in Turkey typically will not motivate their children to study art, to study creative things, to study social sciences. Because in their mind, what makes money, what makes really good living, what provides good living standard is medical doctors and engineers. And they will try to push you to that. And as I said, I'm going to tie this to some of the cultural challenges and some communication challenges that you will face, because I am assuming that overwhelming majority are coming from similar backgrounds. So the road ahead of you is bright. It provides amazing opportunities, especially in countries like America or other parts of the developed world. One golden rule for you is, if something is so easy that anyone can do it, it is not valuable. If something is so easy that anyone can do it, it is not going to be that valuable. If something is challenging, if something requires special skills or dedication or really long, hard work, then it is going to be valuable and it's going to pay off. So think about your investment into yourself. Think about these ideas about different careers, different industries, different education pathways as different marathons that you have to run. Please pay attention that I use the plural word marathons. I didn't say marathon. It's not going to be one-shot struggle and then everything is going to be fine and dandy for the rest of your life. No, it is going to be a constant effort and self-commitment and self-investment that you have to commit to, that it is an environment where you have to progress continuously. You have to improve continuously. Now, the final point that I promised that I was going to talk to you, communication with your parents. Please remember, many of you, your parents did not grow up in this environment. They did not grow up in the richest country of the world where you can, let me give you a little secret. Sometimes they invite me to be the speakers to the venues that your parents are the audience. You know what I tell them? I tell them exactly the flip side of this story. I tell them, look, your children are not going to view the world like you do. You need to be able to go into the common zone to be able to talk to them. Now let me flip the table. Now I'm talking to you. Your parents are not talking even the same language you do when you talk about future, career, marriage, jobs, family, religion, and things like that. They have, and I am product of the same culture and education system, and I personally admit that they have a much narrower vision, including myself. We will never be able to understand the amazing, positive, optimistic attitude that you possess just because you grow up in this country, just because you are product of the education system in this country. I'm not saying it's better or it's ideal. All I'm saying is it's different. What does that mean? It means that when you're communicating with your parents, you need to ease off some of their concerns. What is the biggest concern that your parents have? If we were in a physical location together in a big hall, in a room, and we were able to interact, because I've done that throughout the United States with many of you. Maybe some of you already attended that speech, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but majority of them would say, are my kids going to become good Muslims? Are they gonna maintain their religious identity? Number two, their biggest concern is going to be what kind of friends are they interacting with? Are they going to have a social fabric, social mosaic around them that will motivate to preserve their religious and national and cultural identity? Number three, are they going to stay out of trouble, be good students, get a good education, and will have some meaningful, some satisfying careers so that they can maintain a living standards for themselves? And believe it or not, except for the number one part, the second and the third one are common to all humankind. When I talk to my students in South Georgia, which is Bible Belt, a very religious part of the United States, they do share same common complaints about their parents. Do not think that you being Muslim or Turkish American or from the Hizmet movement is giving you any other additional challenges. You would be fooling yourselves. Every young person goes through these challenging times about the process of them becoming an individual who are making decisions for their own education and career choices, marriage choices, religion choices, compared to what is ideal to their parents. So you need to first learn how to talk to your parents. And I don't have the magic formula. You need to learn and study your parents' background. Some of them come from big cities. Some of them are highly educated people. Some of them come from rural, uneducated families. They might even come from a poor background. So the priorities, whether religion, identity, national identity, or pride, or your livelihood, or your ability to sustain your life with some meaningful income, those priorities might change, but the general, the package is, the basket of concerns is going to be very similar. And I don't have the magic formula for it. You need to study your own parents. You need to understand where they come from, not just geographically, faith-wise, culture-wise, experience-wise. How they interacted with their parents are going to give you really good clues about do's and don'ts. So please, look at what's available in the horizon. It is amazing. The new technologies, the new opportunities, the new implications of what we now are learning that will shape up the future of human behavior, whether it relates to healthcare, education, retail, consumption, medical, or any other field, art, communications, or law, or politics, if that's your aspiration, if that's your dream. Please understand the pathway and the sacrifices that pathway requires. Nobody is going to roll out a red carpet in front of you just because you finished Harvard or Emory or Stanford with a 4.0. You need to show them that you have something special if you are going to accomplish special things in your life. I know that I spoke too long. It has been 35 minutes. So, Ms. Bahriye, I'm going to stop here and let you chime in if you have any objections. If there are people yelling at me right now or they're saying that I'm wrong, I'm used to that. I raised 2 boys. I'm always wrong. And I have students who don't tell to my face, but probably they tell to each other that what an idiot I am. So feel free. Go ahead. Shoot.
So we have a couple questions for you that we got from our comment section. Our first question is, do you think that college education is still important now as it was before? Certifications seem to be working enough for most cases.
I think that college education, when I say college education, I mean the 4-year bachelor's degree, is now even a higher necessity. Because, you know, I've spent a quarter century on analytical thinking. What's the end game? Because you think about like an algorithm, okay? What makes you happy or what makes you say that I succeeded? This is success. You need to first define that. Because if you think you're going to be happy and you're going to be satisfied and you're going to consider yourself successful because you can pay the bills and maintain a living standard, yes, certification will do it. In fact, you can learn how to write code to yourself. But if success and satisfaction and your dreams are about improving yourself constantly, maintaining a self-growth, maintaining a career growth so that you're going to leap into managing other people in the same industry, instead of doing the things that you do really well, managing people who do those things, then you're going to need not only a bachelor's education, but nowadays a high school student typically comes out of high school with 30 credit hours of college credits. I mean, you guys are amazing. Now a really good, successful high school student is almost done with an AS degree, associate's degree, before they even graduate from high school. And I am currently the director of the graduate programs at the college that I'm working. And guess what? For my generation, it was almost a shame not to have a college education. For your generation, it is almost going to be a necessity having a master's degree. Now, this is bad news and good news. Bad news, you're going to stay in school a little longer and it's going to cost you a little more. Good news, you're going to have flexibilities. You live in a country where you can literally study psychology and do a computer science master on top of it, as long as you take a couple of undergraduate prerequisite courses. Because at the undergraduate studies, the first 2 years is almost identical, what we call the core curriculum. And then the third year, your junior year and your senior year, you take upper level classes related to your chosen path. However, even then, after you finish your the 4-year bachelor's degree, your ability to choose a master's degree, especially if it's within the same general field. For example, you studied applied math. To do any kind of engineering on top of that is going to be a piece of cake because it's applicable. If you studied economics or finance or accounting, to do any kind of applied business masters or business law degree is going to be a piece of cake. If you only satisfy yourself with a certification just because you can do something and you can make money, in the long run, you're going to pay for it dearly. Unless you're one of those exceptional people, 1 in a million, you're going to start your own business. You're so innovative that you're going to actually develop something that's better than what the other guy is offering. Then you're going to, down the road, in your mid-30s, you're going to come back to college. Many of my MBA students are in their late 30s, early 40s, because they haven't invested themselves in time. So yes, the answer to that question is today, the value of college education is even more prominent. However, if you don't like the typical college experience, which I personally believe it's invaluable to be in the classroom, to have that college experience, interact with different people, it is almost you learn more outside the classroom than in the classroom, if you choose to do so, of course. When you go to college and you only hang out with people who talk like you, who look like you, who pray like you, then you're not going to learn more than what the textbooks and your professors offer. When I say college experience, I'm talking about the general educational experience. If you really get your money's worth and get every penny's worth that you pay for that college, yes, a college education is amazing. However, now that this pandemic is teaching us that we have alternative ways. For example, in the last 2 months, I'm in my home office right now. I've been teaching my classes synchronously. I mean, literally, like we have different software. We are using Microsoft Teams, but it's very much like Zoom. I do see my students. Now, the next level, the College of Business that I work at, we have a virtual classroom. A virtual classroom is, think about like virtual reality or augmented reality for video games. Apply that to college classroom. So that's going to be probably the future. But again, that doesn't change the fact that you need that experience. Because, oh, I forgot, by the way, for my young friends who are still in high school, I'm 47 years old. I'm a professor at a college. I'm a lifelong student. So please take this heartfelt warning. Everything you see in the curriculum that you feel like, what the heck is this? Why are we even learning this? Why am I wasting my life for this? You're wrong. There will be a time, whether it's going to be in a couple of years or 5 years or 10 years, or when you become, like right now, I'm at the peak of my career, for example, that I regret that there are some courses that I haven't taken because I thought that's too nerdy, that's too difficult, that's too abstract. Okay? I regret, and I'm paying for it. This summer, I'm going to be attending a crash course in SAP and cloud technologies because I didn't learn it when I was your age. So please change your attitude. Change your attitude towards everything that's coming at you from the educational system. The worst case scenario is going to be that you're going to learn how to deal with something annoying. That's the least of the education you can get from anything, even if you deem that this is stupid, this is useless, this is a waste of time. Nothing in terms of knowledge is useless or stupid. Trust me, your generation is going to be tested not by how much you know, but how quickly can you access to the relevant information. Let me repeat. Your generation is not going to be tested by how much you know, because knowledge has grown so much. Even people who have specialized in one field don't know everything about their related field. They only specialize in one narrow aspect of it. For example, I work on investments and risk management and portfolio management. That is one small section of finance, which is itself is a small section of economics. Think about how narrow-minded I would be if I only learn stuff that's relevant to what I want to do. I have to have a broad view of knowledge from many different aspects of science and education and different alleys that I can educate myself, including social media, if you use it the right way. Ms. Bahriye, I think that was a long answer.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. One of our viewers asked, how can I find the balance between the trends you mentioned and what I actually like to do?
That is an excellent question. I would like to counter that question with a challenge, because the question almost assumes that what you like to do does not fit to the trends. For example, 2 weeks ago, I had a young lady whom I have advised for many years. She chose to go into a more artistic, more creative field about fashion and design aspect of business. And her assumption was that, you know, all my life I've been told that math is important, computers is important, networks is important. I need to know at least superficially, at least have an idea about these things. Now I'm choosing a field that is more about design, creativity, and human behavior, and it is nothing technical. And I sent her 14 or 15, I don't remember exactly, articles about how technology is actually now shaping creativity, even in the art form. So what I'm trying to tell you, and what I'm trying to counter with a challenge, your question, is that please don't assume that those trends don't have room for what you want to do. So you need to first find that balance of how much idealism, how much pragmatism. You don't want to be an idealist in every aspect of your career choices and be broke, but you don't want to be a pragmatist in every aspect of your career choices. You end up a puppet. You're doing things just because you want to make money, but you're not enjoying it, because then you're not going to be successful. Challenge level number one, within yourself, that balance. You need to communicate better the potential of your aspirations, your personal dreams as a viable, meaningful career, a viable, meaningful income generator for you, and how this is going to be, how this is going to make you a better, happier person. Because in the end, your parents, yes, they push you. Yes, they want you to be successful. Yes, they want you to make money. But in the end, they want you to be happy. If you show them that, I'm just giving some examples that might not be even relevant, but, just please take the message behind it. Instead of a career that pays $100,000 a year, you choose a career that pays $55,000 a year, but it's going to make you a happier person and you're going to have better self-satisfaction. You need to communicate that to your parents. Of course, if you choose something that has no potential to earn any income, that's going to be difficult to sell in the real world anyway. So you have to be realistic about your dreams as well. All right.
Okay, we have a lot of questions coming in fast, so I'm going to go ahead and ask the next question. So someone asked, many of the advice for choosing a career are based on mental and emotional traits of a person. What types of physical traits should be put into consideration while choosing a career, such as sight, motor skills, and aptitude?
Excellent question. In fact, right now, I love the question because the entire education system is blindly focusing on these aptitude tests and character tests. And there are many different, like the golden test and this and that. And you can actually purchase one of those for $30. In fact, just to give you an example about, I'm a lifelong student and I hope I will never stop learning and improve myself. I am part of a leadership academy right now. We just had our graduation ceremony on Monday, and we did a golden personality test, which you can purchase for $30 online. And I know that many career counselors, companies, after they do the first interview with you, they will ask you to do an aptitude test or some character diagnostic tool, trying to understand what kind of personality you are. Are you a team player? Are you a leader? Are you better at structured environments, or are you intuitive? Are you a critical thinker, systematic or intuitive, and more like gut instinct and creative, left brain, right brain? There are many dimensions for that. But rarely do they focus on one's physical strengths and weaknesses. Now, for that one, unfortunately, you are at your own. You're on your own. It is very difficult for systems and evaluators to go into those subject matters unless the job itself specifically requires certain physical traits. For example, if you want to be a police officer, but I'm sorry, again, I don't mean this to be in any offensive way, but you are wheelchair bound, then you do know that there is going to be amazing restrictions on, yes, the police task force, the police can hire you to do certain tasks for them, but not run on the streets and chasing criminals. Or if you have certain allergies and sensitivities and you are thinking about going into food nutritional science and compliance in some of the food processing plants, well, then you might have some physical restrictions. So again, I think the answer to your question, and the very fact that the fact that you're asking this question tells me that you already started ahead of the curve. First, get to know yourself, not just physically, but also character-wise. Know yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And be honest with yourself. If you chase dreams that are unrealistic, whether due to your physical restrictions or due to your mental capacity or your personal traits, then you might be wasting your time. If you are a very shy person and if you don't want to engage and argue and sometimes confront people, and if you have a dream of becoming a trial lawyer, then you have some work to do. I'm not saying just because you're a shy person that you're not going to learn how to be assertive, how to effectively debate and confront people or try to convince people. For example, when I was in middle school, I was a very shy introvert. I would never imagine that I would move to another country, learn a foreign language, and become a professor and make a living by teaching a technical subject matter to the native speakers of that language, which is my second language. I could never imagine that. This is not something that you are born with. Yes, you can learn to do it, but you need to be aware of your weaknesses so that you can work on them. Let me repeat. Being aware of your weaknesses should not be an end of the game. Oh, well, I can't do this. It should be an awareness to work harder on that if your dreams are pushing you that alley. Do we have any other questions, or are they bored out of their minds already?
No, we definitely have a couple more. Our next question is, you mentioned that in order to succeed in Turkey, you had to work really hard for 6 years. You also mentioned that hard work is one of the most important things in the United States as well. So either way, do you have to be hardworking? One of the viewers was a little bit confused about the situation.
Yes, I see the confusion. Let me clarify what I meant to say. In Turkey, hardworking coupled with, in addition to exceptional skills and intellect, would bear the fruit. Let me repeat. In Turkey, hard work is not enough. 1.5 million students take one exam once a year, and that determines pretty much the rest of your life. Okay? Another really scary part of that is once you go down in one path, let's say that you chose engineering, oh boy, changing that to another career path would require wasting a lot of years. You have to start over again. What I meant by hard work and perseverance is a bigger part of the equation in this country, is that you don't have to be exceptionally smart in the United States to be exceptionally successful. Even if you are average smart, hard work will pay off and reward you exceptional results. That's what I meant by that. I had a lot of students, I had a lot of friends. I went to special Anadolu Lisesi. At the time, it was like really exceptional students were at the age of 11, 5th grade, you take a test. Millions take the same test and you're ranked, and then you go into these middle school, high school combinations where instruction was in foreign languages. Mine was in German. So all of the students at my high school came from that filter. They were already exceptionally smart, and they all worked really hard, but many of them didn't go to the colleges that they wanted to, because the system can only reward a few. It's like a steep pyramid. In the US, it is almost flat. Okay, almost flat. As long as you show the necessary skills and the intellect, and you are a hardworking individual, you are gonna have a payday in the end. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Our next question is, which areas of finance do you think will be the rising stars of the upcoming years?
Big data, data analytics, fintech, and IT. AI, I'm sorry. Again, I'm very hungry right now. We are only an hour away from iftar, or maybe a little more. So let me repeat one more time. Big data, data analytics. Big data meaning you can be on the demand side, collection side of it, meaning you're looking at the human behavior, you're looking at more relevant ways of collecting data, or data analytics. The data is collected, it's humongous. We are talking about terabytes of data, and now somebody has to analyze it. And it can't be just the computer programmers. It can't be just the quant heads that we call in finance. Somebody has to look at that analysis and make it useful for financial decision making. And then, of course, fintech, the disruptive technologies, blockchain, distributed ledger technologies, and of course, AI, artificial intelligence. right now, yes, we have robo-advisors. For example, you don't walk into the financial advisor's office physically. First, you go into the website, there is a robot, literally an AI, that asks you questions. And based on the answers you give to those questions, you are teamed up with the correct advisor. So those four in finance are really the rising stars.
Our next question is, some colleges have announced that they will not require the ACT or SAT scores for the next school year. What would you recommend students to focus on in order to prepare for college?
Well, we are doing the same thing. I mean, some of them announced that they're not going to require, some of them announced they lowered the standards. And at the graduate level, for example, we are now giving conditional acceptances to people with GMAT, without GMAT scores or GRE scores. Those are after college, you take those to go into the master programs. I want to eliminate a misunderstanding. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody is going to come in and be successful. Of course, we are preparing retention measures. What does that mean? We are very well aware that the incoming student body will have some students that are not going to survive, or they are not going to survive without additional help. So not only we are opening our doors and saying, okay, regardless of your SAT score, you come in, but we are putting things in place so that will help you to succeed, even if you would have scored much lower than the necessary SAT score. So please don't fool yourselves by thinking, oh, well, coronavirus is going to be an excuse not to do well and succeed for the rest of my career. It is not going to be. So make sure that when I say self-discipline, hard work, perseverance, and self-investment, what I mean by that is internal mechanism. Okay? External mechanisms that will measure your success and worthiness for academic or employment decisions are already out there. You can't fool them. You can only fool them once or maybe temporarily. But the internal mechanism about yourself, your own self-worth, your own self-evaluation, and saying, are you a curious person? Do you care about certain trends, industries, or job opportunities? If you do, are you willing to sacrifice from your personal life, from your leisure time, or are you willing to go through the painful process of training and learning new things throughout the rest of your life about this and updating yourself? That stamina is something that has to be within yourself. So please don't look at this new environment, which we call now the excuse environment, and think that this is going to sustain. It is not going to. This is a very temporary opportunity. Now you can say, well, Abi, doesn't that mean though, even if I fooled a little bit in the last couple of years, now this is a second chance? Yes, it is. If you are aware of your weaknesses, if you fooled around, goofed around for the last couple of years, and you're not really ready, yes, they'll let you in. But that means that you have to work a little harder to stay on top of things.
Thank you so much for that. And although we had a couple more questions, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Aktas, for your eye-opening presentation and inspiring answers. And thank you to our viewers for watching.
FKM Youth, thank you so much for giving me this platform and the opportunity. And again, for my young friends, please be optimistic, be positive. Make sure that you understand that opportunities in this country around you are endless, limitless. The sky is the limit for you. Keep rising and keep investing into yourself, whether it's spiritually, materialistically, or your education, whatever it is, that keep learning and keep empowering yourself with new knowledge. And that's going to be the key for a self-fulfilling, for a satisfying life for you anyway, regardless of your income, job, your marriage, your the cultural fabric around you. Make sure that you benefit from what's around you. Thank you so much for listening to me.